And there we are. All right. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I hope everybody is doing well. Hope you guys are staying out of trouble. Not a bad day here today. Busy again, doing just trying to. It's funny because it's like I got certain things I'm trying to get accomplished and done. Um, there was well, before, let me do the other stuff first before we jump into anything. Before we jump into anything, I just want to remind everybody that this is a very family friendly oriented channel. I would ask you all to please be decent in the chat. No racism, no nastiness. If you cannot abide by those very simple, easy rules, those awesome people lit up in blue with the blue wrenches are going to boot you out of here because we are not going to tolerate this. We got Dale from Ohio, Isaac the Hermit, Alex is here, Janet's in the house, Eli, Sonia's here, DJ's here, Delbert Jones, Yvonne, Alyssa, JJ's in the house, Janita Morris, Mary Taylor's here. So good evening, everybody. Glad to have you here. So we start another end of a weekend, right? God, I tell you, the time is flying by. It is amazing how fast time goes. Uh, so today, if you saw the video earlier, the air units are here, the NBC air filtration units, and so they're probably going to be sitting for a while, obviously, until we can get to a point where we can get them set up. But we were able to get them. We got them here. Jimmy brought them down, so that was really cool. So one of the things I had to do today was go out and get a tarp because I wanted to get that covered up and secured because they were calling actually for rain in the forecast. And Earl, I don't know if it I don't think it ended up raining yet, but it looked like National Puppy Day. Yeah, yeah. It's Puppy Day here every day. Puppy Day here every day. So I was going to mention this because this was asked about before about the puppies. So Kali, I weighed her, and she is 36 pounds. And then started weighing the boys, and Caesar and Genghis are both 40 pounds, and Zeus is 41 pounds. So I was like, I cannot believe how much they weigh already. Growing very, very fast. Really growing fast. So they're doing really good. They're a lot of fun. Really, like I said, I really, really enjoy the puppies. So, but yeah, so that was one of the things that was doing with that. But yeah, so I wanted to weigh them because like I said, somebody was asking. I'm like, I gotta see how much they weigh, and they're not even 4 months old yet. So, um, I don't know JJ because the last time I went to weigh her, like my scale only goes up to 300 pounds. Okay, and I'm 225. And when I picked up Hella and tried to weigh her before, the scale said error. So I'm gonna if I had to guess, I would say Hella was probably 85, 90 pounds at least, if not more. She's a solid dog. I mean, she's all muscle, so I don't know exactly where she's at as far as that goes. But yeah, so I went out, had to go pick up that tarp today. The other thing, we're getting things ready for our next project, which I told you guys we're going to be working on the shower room. So I got my list of what I needed to get, and I got that over here somewhere. And so, oh, I think yeah, I think the boys will be well over 100. I think when they're full grown, they'll be well over 100. But yeah, I figure Hella's got to be 85, 90 pounds. She's a good sized dog, but and I mean, who knows? But question: is the volcano a hazard for New England states? Not the one we're going to be talking about, but I know that they've discovered one. Hey, see Ray, let's see. Ed, will you solar power the air filtration system, or will a generator be needed? Probably good. Thank you for the question, by the way, and thank you so much for the donation. Probably a combination of both. Because we don't know what the air quality is going to be like if something happened. So you'd probably need a combination of both. And but I try to run everything on the solar if I can. But that's as far as that goes. So, but other thing, guys, if you have questions, all cap locks because it stands out to me more. So I do appreciate that. Mom's golden shepherd is pretty close to 100 pounds. Okay. Yeah, it depends. I mean, the boys are probably going to be well over 100. And that's just, I mean, I'm guessing, because like right now they're what? They'll be, they won't be 4 months old. Well, like Tuesday, they're a week away from being 4 months old. So, so they got a lot of, and German Shepherds grow for 2 years. So they get some size and then they fill out. But and the boys they got some big paws, so I have a feeling that they're going to be good sized dogs. All right, so anyway, let's get into what we wanted to talk about, and I'm going to probably butcher the name of this, so please forgive me. It's Campe Ferranghi, I think is how you say it. It's Italian. It's in Italy. Um, I don't know if you guys realize, I think that there are 7 supervolcanoes in the world. Okay. So you got a whole bunch of other volcanoes, but then you also have 7 supervolcanoes. And one of those is this Campi Ferranghi, I'm not 100% sure how to say it. Um, but that one is in Italy. Obviously, we have Yellowstone supervolcano here in the United States. But this one over there, the concern with that and so let's before we get into talking about super volcanoes, let's realize, okay, that at some point those super volcanoes are going to go. That's just a matter of when and not if. Okay, come on, baby, stop now. You're fine. Um, that's a matter of when, not if. So all the super volcanoes that are out there, eventually they will go again. Now the difference is, like, everybody's, there's been, I mean, how many series on Yellowstone because it's in the United States, and one of the big things that they talk about with the super volcanoes is ground deformation. Okay, so what ground deformation is that it slowly rises up, and depending on time and all that type of stuff. And then you have earthquake activity is another thing that they're always looking at. Well, the one the one in the United States here, Yellowstone, the, the ground deformation, it always is rising. Okay, so it's always building up. So it's stuff underneath is pushing up at whatever rate, and so maybe you might get an inch a year or something like that. It's usually not. Yeah, that's how. I'm not sure how it's said, JJ. So I was butchering it, but that's the one I'm talking about. The one JJ's got there. Um, that one there, the ground deformation has been going up 2 inches per month, not in a year, per month. So it may not sound. Yeah, it was hella drinking water. It may not sound like a lot, but that's a lot of uplift. So that's a lot of pressure underneath. And the thing is, come on, Hella, stop now, baby. You're gonna get me. I'm all dog haired up already. No, I know I love you, but you're fine. Get down, please. Get down, please. You're fine. You don't need to go outside, so you're not going outside. Um, so, lost my train of thought. So anyway, with the ground deformation going up like that, there, That's concerning. And they've been having a lot of earthquakes, which is also concerning. They just recently had a couple of like 4.0 earthquakes. So, again, those are things that you really, when you're looking at a volcano, that's what you need to look at. Okie Ford said 2 inches per month is 2 feet in a year. Oh, yeah. And it's been, and that one there, um, okay, oh, I know what I was going to say. So, with these super volcanoes, when they go, every time they go doesn't mean it is the big one, right? It's not like, you can have an eruption and it can be a minor eruption and still cause a lot of damage. But now, if it is the worst case scenario eruption, that's global chaos. Okay, so if that volcano goes and it's a major eruption because it's one of the super volcanoes. First of all, right around that whole area, they're all built up all around that mountain. So you would be looking at 2 million people dying rather quickly if that thing erupted. So obviously the people in the area are very concerned. They're talking to the volcanologist and it'd be like, what's going on? And right now they're saying there's really not nothing to be concerned about. If you guys remember, because I remember Mount St. Helen here in the United States, when Mount St. Helens got active and really got active, and they said it's gonna go, and they knew it was gonna go, and then it was just a matter of they didn't know exactly when, but it was getting closer and closer and closer, and they had people evacuating, and some people wouldn't leave, and they had a lot of people up there studying it, and when it went, in the way that it went, they weren't expecting that. Okay, yeah, more. So let's if this was a super eruption for this volcano over in Italy, what would end up happening? It could lower the global temperatures by like 2 degrees. It could block out the sun because of putting so much stuff into the upper atmosphere that you would be in a what they call a volcanic winter. Alex says VIE 8 eruption. Yes, that's one of the biggest ones. Yep. Um, you would be looking at years of basically winter. If you guys remember when, again, going back to Mount St. Helens, when that one went, and it was a fairly decent sized eruption, they had snow that year, I believe, in Maine in July. So it affected the temperature. So because it's putting so much stuff into the upper atmosphere, it definitely affects the temperature. So those type of situations are, you the biggest thing that I try to always explain to people with anything, because there's so many scenarios that could happen, right? Because like people ask me, what's the most likely scenario that could happen? And I've said over and over and over again, um, I my personal thing is I believe we're going to have a grid down situation because that's our Achilles heel. That's the way you hurt America. So that wouldn't surprise me at all. Okay, but there's so many other things that could happen. Natural disasters. Mother Nature is going to do what Mother Nature is going to do. We don't have any kind of control over that. We can't control that. And these volcanoes are a great example of we don't have any control. There's nothing we can do to stop it, slow it down. We're not there. And if it goes, it's a game changer. And so if this, like, again, what would happen is, and would it be immediate? No, it would not be immediate. Um, that year here in Missouri, it was really cool. That summer, when Mountain St. Helens went up. Okay, yeah, it was. It affected a lot of stuff, and it was basically for that year, and that was in the scope of eruptions, a smaller eruption. But with one of these super volcanoes, I think the last super volcano that went was Toba. They said that when that one went, and that one, what was that, 80,000 years ago? And they said when that one went, that the world population actually ended up going down to about 10,000 people. Now, when you think about that, put that in kind of perspective with what do we got, 8 billion people on the planet now, right? If that one goes, immediately in the vicinity, a lot of people would die, okay? Pyroclastic flows, um, all that going up into the atmosphere. The thing is what people don't think about, okay, which is scary. The ash coming off of that, the ash that's coming off of those type of volcanoes or any volcano, okay, you see the clouds and stuff like that. You don't want to breathe that in because that's basically glass, is what it is. And if you breathe it in, it hardens in your lungs and it will kill you. So that's how a lot of people end up dying, because of that ash from those volcanoes. Not a fun thing. Not a fun thing. So, and then, houses collapse. If you got 2, 3 feet of ash on top of your house, that's heavy, as it's packing down and coming down. And, homes will collapse. I mean, it would be catastrophic. But like, so how would that affect us here in the United States, right? So I mean, I kind of want to explain that because it would be a global disaster if it was, in case, again, not just an eruption, but like in a level 8 eruption. If it was that, the most extreme eruption, within inside of 6 weeks, you would start to see uh, more overcast. The clouds would be, block the because the ash would be blocking out the sun. So within inside of 6 weeks, globally, you that would affect people. So realistically, if it went and you're not in Italy where you're not immediately affected by it, you got a window of opportunity. Okay. No, I did not paint the picture. No, no, I had one of my neighbors. Her name's Audrey Austin. When I lived up in New York, she's a painter, and I commissioned her, because the lane for up there, if you guys remember what was like with the trees, the canopy, I always thought it was just beautiful. I loved it. So I asked her to paint me a picture of a father and his 2 kids, and that's what she did. And I love the picture. I think she just was. I think she did an awesome job. So, but anyway, time to do what, Ed? Okay, well, that's a good question, Yvonne. A global event like that, again, you're talking about a lot of death, a lot of death. Again, when Toba went, I believe it's 80,000 years ago, the world population went down to about 10,000 people. You would see the same type of thing happening again, unless you have a bunker that is supplied for 10 years. Okay. I mean, you're talking long, long term, miserable weather, people trying to take what you had and all that type of stuff. It would be very, very difficult to survive long term in a situation like that because you got to be able to stay warm. You got to be able to have water. You got to be able to, you're forget about growing crops. Forget about, your animals, because if they don't have the stuff to eat, they're going to die. The crops need sunlight, and if we were in a volcanic winter for even, let's say it was 2 years, okay, which it could be 2 years or longer, you're talking about I mean, think about how miserable, okay, it is now when we have winter for a few months. Could you imagine years of strictly winter? It would be tough. And again, unless you have a huge supply of food, what are you going to do? And then again, most of that time you're probably going to be living underground, you know, in a lot of cases, because that's going to be where it's going to be the warmest. So I mean, it's crazy. In Europe, when that Italian volcano went in the 1500s, they had so-called mini ice age. Oh yeah, yep, I remember that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is literally, and the thing is, I know a lot of people love to dismiss these things. Oh, that'll never happen. Well, it will. We just don't know when. I mean, and the thing is to dismiss these things out of hand like that. "Ah, it's not going to affect me. It's not a big deal." Now again, no guarantee that it's going to be a major eruption. It could erupt, be a smaller event eruption. Any kind of eruption with a lot of these things is not good. If you guys remember, just not that long ago, when the Iceland volcanoes went, it disrupted air travel. Because here's another lovely thought, you know, airplanes don't like ash in their engines. They don't work so well. So, they had to reroute flights when the volcano in Iceland went. So, just use that as an idea, and then what, 10 times worse, 100 times worse, however, one of these big ones, because again, like Yellowstone, it will go again someday. Now, is that going to be soon? I don't make those predictions, but there's like Yellowstone generally goes off. They said there's been three prior events for Yellowstone super volcano. It's about once every 600,000 years. All right, we're past due. So I mean, we're past 600,000. I think we're at like, I don't remember. I think 640,000, something like that. Okay. Yeah, the best laid plans of mice and men. All we can do in any situation, you know, you can't really plan for a Yellowstone or a super volcano type of situation, because the scope of it is so big. But again, like I said, if one of these volcanoes go off, like I said, over there in Italy, you will have a window. You're going to have a window of time. So what do you do with that time? I mean, because the reality is, you know, uh, the governments are going to take care of their own. They're not going to be looking out. Yeah, 1816, the year without summer. Yep, and that was from a volcano. So, yeah, it's like these things will happen, folks. They're going to happen. It's not a matter of maybe, if, or whatever. They will happen. It's a matter of when. And again, am I ready for a super volcano event? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, I'll give you a good example. Okay, so Greenbrier. If you guys know any of the history, they had a bunker under the Greenbrier, and that here in West Virginia, in Greenbrier County, and that was discovered. But that bunker that they had there underneath the Greenbrier Hotel and restaurant, that one could house, I think, like 2,000 people for up to, um, I think they had enough food and stuff in there. It's been decommissioned since because it was discovered. Stop. Um, because it was discovered, so it's been decommissioned. But that was supposed to be for like Congress. They were going to go there in, an event of nuclear war or whatever the case may be. And like I said, again, that's would they'd only would have like a 3 month supply of food for, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was like 2,000 people, if I'm not mistaken. Now, don't get me wrong, they have bunkers all over the place. The government does. I mean, Cheyenne Mountain is unbelievable what they have there. Now, I don't know how long. I mean, Cheyenne Mountain. Kyle, will you stop? Please be a good girl. Um, Cheyenne. Yeah, it's a country club. Well, it was a country club before, JJ, but it was just that was the front, and underneath it was the bunker, and they had it stocked up, for Congress to be able to go under, if something happened. It was like a short distance to get them there, but obviously it was discovered, so it's been decommissioned since then. And I think you can actually get tours of that. I don't know for sure. We'd have to find out if you could or not. But yeah, it's just, but those type of things, those type of bunkers are all over, but they're not stacked up for a 10-year period. So if they had people that actually, when I toured that bunker, it had MRE stock there. Oh, did it? Okay, Karen. I didn't. I you know. Well, I know it's been decommissioned. That I do know. It's been decommissioned, and But again, I mean, how long are you going to last, right? I mean, people would go stir crazy. We're creatures that need to be out, and so, but it's just Ed, you have hella bugging you, and Sophie, my cat, is bugging me for her attention. Yeah, she's a petulant child. So, I tagged you in on that former congressman's off-grid cabin tour. Ed. Okay, all right, cool. But yeah, there's bunkers everywhere. People have bunkers everywhere now. How well they're stocked and how long people would be able to last in those type of situations, I don't know. You know what I mean? You look at that underground city that they had over in, um, was it Iraq? Not Iraq. I think it was. It's over there in the Middle East somewhere. There is, and it's all dug out of volcanic rock, and that place was able to hold 20,000 people. They had stables under there. They had air holes, everything. So I mean, what would facilitate people to want to be able to have something where up to 20,000 people could go underground and they had everything that they needed there? So, really interesting. Hey, do you remember the civil defense bunkers there were in the 50s through the early 1970s? I do. Yeah, they had a lot of different places. Yep. JJ said, Ed, the government bunkers are stocked with supplies for up to 20 years or more. Yeah, but for how many people? See, there's the other part of that. But for how many people? Do you think humanity can survive a supervolcano eruption? With our modern technology, yes, we could survive it, but not the majority of people. Those in charge, yes, they would survive. You and me, Alex, we'd be screwed. That's the reality. We would be in big, big trouble. So I wonder if Yellowstone will be after the Italy super volcano. Well, like I said again, you just don't know. You don't know what's going to set these things off, um, and because they haven't happened in so long, and it changes everything. It's like those are game changers, folks. Uh, you know, like I said, I'm a prepper and I'm pretty prepared. I'm not where I want to be, but we're obviously working to get to where we want to be. But and why is our government stocking cheese? You know what, the different governments around the world, and this is where I'm saying, like, 80,000 years ago, they didn't have the technology, the innovation, and the stuff that we have now. So, there's a big part of the difference of that. So, would more people survive now in that type of an event? Yes. But they would have to be willing and ready to realize that most likely they would have to go to ground and be underground for years, years, until things on top of here, till the rest of us killed each other all off. And then they could come out and try to rebuild later on. So, yeah, no, no, no. That you're thinking Dust Devil, you're thinking the one that was buried. That was a different city. They buried it on purpose. The one that I'm thinking of is there. The guy was digging in his cellar to expand his cellar, cut through into a passage, and it was not buried. Just the entrances were buried. There was several ways in, several ways out, and people didn't realize it because it had been so long. And it could house up to 20,000 people. uh Tebeke, or Gobe Tebeke, or however you say it, in Turkey. That's a different thing. That is the one that they're saying predates, stuff now. But we aren't them, we would all be screwed. Um, like I said, what people fail to realize, okay, and again, I've talked about this part of it so many times. Well, real quick, we got 285 in the chat, guys. We got 114 thumbs up. If you have not shot a thumbs up yet, I'm going to ask you to please do so to show support for the channel. I thank you ahead of time. It really does make a huge, huge difference with the algorithms. So I thank you for that reason as well. So the more interaction, the better it's going to be for the channel. So I do appreciate that as well. Also, again, if you are not subscribed to the channel, I would ask you to please subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon to get all notifications as well. Um, I've studied a lot of the Yellowstone stuff, and I paid attention to a lot of that because I find it fascinating. I think it's absolutely fascinating. Um, but the reality, like I said again, being prepared and being ready. And well, I know what I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about, and I've talked about this before. I've had so many people say, "Oh, well, if we had a grid down situation and it was long term, I wouldn't want to survive that." They were like, "I wouldn't want to go on." And it's easy enough to say. And would there be people that would quit life? Yes. In any kind of thing that wasn't their normal. Okay. But what people don't realize, and I really think a lot of people don't realize it, the will to live is so strong, no matter what the situation is, you're going to try to fight because you want to stay alive. That's just human nature. Okay. So when I talk about people that are suicides that kill themselves, it takes a lot of stones to do that. And I've said it's a very selfish act, in my opinion, because they leave everybody that loved them and cared about them behind to have to deal with and clean up the mess. But depression can be a really terrible thing. And people get to that point where they feel like that's their only option. That's another whole video some other time. But you know, the reality is that most people would fight tooth and nail to the end to try to stay alive. They absolutely would. And so, that's why I always say, to people, I want to live, okay? And I'm going to do everything in my power to give me every advantage that I can in that situation. That's what I'm going to do. That's the bottom line. I mean, there ain't no quit when it comes to that. And if something bad happened, we would have to deal with it and go on and try to take care of business. But it's never that type of stuff was never any fun. Now, like I say, you would have a window of opportunity. Again, if that super volcano in Italy goes, you're going to have about a 6 week window before the sun starts being blocked out and the plants all start to die and all that type of stuff. So, what are you going to do in that 6 weeks? Because what would ended up happening, I'll tell you right now, the governments around the world would very much restrict what you could get as far as food and those type of stuff. They would absolutely restrict that unbelievably, where it would be very, very difficult. Like you couldn't go to the grocery store, and if that event happened and you said, well, I'm just going to go and I'm going to stock up. Well, that's everybody's mindset. Okay. That's what everybody's going to want to do. And they're not going to allow that to happen. The governments just won't allow it to happen. And, so again, being prepared ahead of time for whatever may happen is always the smartest way to deal with things because again the unforeseen, that's why we don't know what could happen. So the more ready we are, the more prepared we are, the better our chances are of making it through different events. Why be uncomfortable? Like natural disasters, and I've talked about these guys so many times. You know, flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes, ice storms, blizzards, mudslides, forest fires, you name it, it is going to happen. It's not going to stop happening. And I want to be in a position, this is just my take, where I do not have to rely on the government to take care of me. That's my goal. That's my goal all the time. I don't want to rely on the government. I don't want to stand in line with 2,000 of my closest friends waiting for my meal for them to give me whatever they're going to give me. I don't want to be in some shelter again with 2,000 of my closest friends sleeping on a cot and have people all around me doing the same thing. That is a recipe for disaster. And again, now you're talking about a high stress situation on top of that, in the way people are, and people want their own way. So, you know, for me, if I can put myself in a situation where I'm not relying on that government, that I can just stay put and deal with whatever is going on and take care of things and have my people and my family, with me, people that I feel like I can count on. All right. And I know some people have said to me, well, you don't really know how people are going to react until they're in that situation. Well, nobody knows how anybody's going to react in any situation. But if you are all starting out with the same type of mindset, okay, yes, stress affects everybody differently. All right, that's a fact. That's just a fact. But if you have a group of like minded people and you're working together, you already have commonality in place. So you already have, hopefully, you have a game plan in place. And so, you would have to deal with whatever came down the pipe as a group and go, okay, well, here, this is what we got dealt. So, um, Delbert said, Ed, I would not want to be anywhere near a store during anything happening anyway. Exactly, Delbert. It's a very dangerous place to be, and that's another great point. It's another great point. And you in a true event type of situation, be it a super volcano, be it grid down, an attack on the country, a nuclear cyber attack, whatever the case may be, whatever it would be, EMP, whatever, it would be panic in the streets. And that mindset for people would be like, I'm going to go get what I need, and that's it. And it's going to be a nightmare in those stores. And people are going to kill each other over stuff for nothing, for nothing. So, again, the more prepared we are, like I said, I've always said, something happens, my game plan and my group's game plan is to hunker down and ride it out. We have no intention of going out anywhere. Hopefully, we're in a position where we have enough stuff here. We have enough things to do here. We have enough supplies and all that type of stuff. And you would be so incredibly busy that you would not have time to really sit down, feel sorry for yourself, and oh my, oh me, poor me, and the people that I care about, whatever. You're not going to have time for that, because the immediate needs are going to be, defense is always going to be number one in that type of situation, because whatever you have, if you want to keep what you have, then you're going to have to do what you got to do to make sure that you keep it. So making your defenses so that people can't just come rolling up into your stuff and take your stuff, because people will try to do that as well. I mean, that's a reality. JJ said, at SHTF is a wide range of disaster. First and foremost, assess the situation first. Do not panic. Well, that's the key. But unfortunately, JJ, the majority of people will panic. And that's another advantage of being a prepper and being prepared, because hopefully you have a game plan in place. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And, so you already know, okay, holy crap, this is it. This is the big one. This is the big event. We didn't realize it was going to be this event, but here it is. And now we got to deal with it, right? Um, and I'm willing to wager 90% of that stuff will be non-essential. Think 60s LED TVs. Oh yeah, the comedian. People will steal stuff. Um, they'll steal stuff that they can't even use. That's the reality. They will steal things. Like if the power grid is down. All right, let's say the power grid is down. People are going to steal. They're going to steal TVs. They're going to steal the stuff that they would normally think of that they want to steal, because they're not thinking clearly. All right. Me, biggest thing I'd be going if I wasn't prepared. Okay. And if I was panicking, um, I would be looking at food, medical supplies, those type of things. If anybody read the series 1 second after, that series of books, great series. And the colonel, he the first thing he thought of, he had a daughter that had She was diabetic. His first thought, let me get to the pharmacy and see if I can't get extra insulin. So again, everybody's priorities are going to be different. But if you're thinking rationally and you're thinking of a game plan of what I'm going to do, what do I need to do? My game plan is to go, okay, it's happened, not going anywhere. Not going anywhere. No more going out, hunker down. People get here, we work together, we do what we have to do. And, we would try, if we could, to sit tight for at least a year before we even thought about venturing out. Because, if you do that, if you did that, the majority of people out there would not be there anymore after a year of a true event. Now, like I said, again, a super volcano, that is a whole different level of gameplay. So, none of us, in even the government to a degree, I'm sure there are places that are ready for those long term situations, but they have lists of people that are going to be there. We're not on those lists, folks. Okay, so just remember that we're not on those lists. So not like we're not going to get that last minute phone call. Hey Ed, yeah, listen, SHTF is happening. It's going to be a long term situation. Come on down. We have this underground bunker with 20 years worth of food. It ain't going to happen. Okay, we're going to have to rely on ourselves. So, you know, what about all the people that need medication and have medical problems when the super volcano erupts? What happens? Well, Alex, the hard, cold truth is anybody that's compromised, that is on life saving medication, that is on, dialysis, that is getting cancer treatment, the reality is they're not going to be around long. I mean, that's just that's a hard, cold truth. Now, you can prepare the best way that you can, medication wise, if you know you have certain things that you need to keep you going longer term. You could stock up on those or look for alternative forms of medication to utilize. That's the option, but that's something that if it affects you or your loved one, that you really need to be proactive about, you know. So those are things to think about. So my son is on Keppra for seizures, for brain cancer. No way to stocking it up. Well, and I'm not trying to be, the bearer of bad news, but I'm a reality person. I'm never going to say, oh, it'll be fine and you'll be good. I won't do that because that's being disingenuous. I just won't do that to people. Hey, I just made it in. I'm not usually able to catch the live, but I've been watching for a few years. Well, thank you, Desert Yoda. I appreciate that. I'm glad you were able to make it here. So, but yeah, like I said, there's so many things that the way things could go. Like I said, you just don't know, and you just, like I said, look for alternatives. Figure out the ancients had all kinds of homeopathic medicine that they used, that worked, that modern medicine that we have now goes, oh, don't do that. You know what I mean? So those are things to, to think about and plan for as well. But again, all we can do is the best that we can do. Not everybody's going to make it. Like even like my group, let's say everybody in the group made it here to the homestead. Does that mean that everybody's going to live for a year and everybody's going to be fine? No, there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees of anything. Somebody has an accident, somebody gets hurt, somebody gets shot. There's so many variables that, that you can, not plan for. You can do the best that you can and hopefully have enough medical supplies and everything that you'll be in better shape, but there's no guarantee. All right, guys, what do we got? 300 in the chat. We're at 158 thumbs up. I'd like to see 200. So that's 42 more thumbs up. So if we, come on, baby. No, you got to stop. You're not going out yet. Um, if you have not shot a thumbs up yet, I'm going to ask you to please do so to show support for the channel, and I thank you ahead of time. It really does make a huge difference with the algorithms. So the more interaction, the better for the channel. Also, again, if you are not subscribed to the channel, I would ask you to please subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon to get all notifications as well. And I thank you as well. So the goal is like 200. Let's see if we can hit 200 thumbs up. We're at 170, so we need 30 more. So, um, all right. I have both autism and seizures in the past and would be toast during SHTF. Again, Alex, not necessarily. I mean, if you like, yeah, we're gonna do egg count here in just a second, guys. If you, like I said, if with proper planning, you can put yourself in a better advantage. Is there any guarantee? No, but you just try to do what you can do the best advantage that you can. So, all right, yeah, dogs are worth their weight in gold. For yeah, they hear things long before you will, long before you will. Okay, let's do egg count. We need 22 more thumbs up too, guys. 22 more. How many eggs today? And yes or no for Miss Betty White. So let's keep those thumbs up coming too. We're 19 away. 19 more. And like I said, we hit 200 and I stopped asking. So there's more than enough people in this chat right now that if y'all that haven't done it did it, then you shut me up and I don't ask for no more. So give you guys just another moment to get your guesses in and we will go from there. Yeah, I did, Carolyn. I already called it. All right. Unbelievable once again. I said to myself today, there's no way he's guessing it today. No way he's guessing it today. For the, I don't even know how many times, but 2 times in a row now winner for sure. Uh, if you had the same exact guess as DJ, hella stop, enough, stop. If you had the same exact guess as DJ with 2 eggs today, and yes for Miss Betty White, then you are 100% correct. So congratulations once again, DJ. I don't even know what your count is as far as how many wins that you have at this point. JJ saying 24. Could be. Could be. So Mary and Pratt said, have missed you up here in New York, Ed. Lord bless you all. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I'm going to tell you, I was just actually talking to somebody today, actually my neighbor, Greg, up in New York. And I said to him, I said, you know, there's things that I miss about New York and there's people that I miss in New York. I said, but I will never, ever live in New York ever again, ever. So I love it here in West Virginia. I wish I could like have my people all like here with me. You know, that would be great. It doesn't always work that way, but you know that would be the ideal situation. But you know, it is what it is. You know, so what do you at 196? We need 4 more guys, 4 more thumbs up. But no, I don't like he was telling me about the weather up there, you know, that they had snow this morning and it was miserable and I'm like, you know, we had, you know, I mean it was only like 50 degrees here today, but the sun is, you know, are your vehicles still registered in New York to avoid West Virginia property tax? No, Adam, I have to pay West Virginia property tax. I have to pay West Virginia. If I own property in West Virginia, you know, well, you didn't have to delete that one, JJ, but I appreciate it. Um, you can't avoid property tax. If you own property, no matter what state you live in, you still have to pay property tax on the property that you own. So, oh, that's too funny. I know. Too bad DJ's not that good with like the lottery. He'd like, you know, he'd be golden, good to go. So, too funny. Am I planning any trips this summer? As of right now, neighbor Bob, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. What do you know about zero water filters? That's come up a lot lately. Setting off grid homestead. You know, I don't know about the zero. I like I said, I have of the Berkey system. That's the system that I've used. Okay. I should, you know, I swear by them. I like the Berkey water systems. You know, if you said to me, what do I recommend? I would say get a Berkey. I have a 6 gallon Berkey here, and you can get the different sizes, whatever works for you. But I like the convenience of whenever I want to cook or drinking water, I can just go right there. It's ready to go, and it's already been filtered. And then if it starts to get low, I just fill up the upper chamber, and just it just does its thing, and I don't even have to do anything. So that's just a matter of staying on top of it and making sure that it's full. And like I actually looked the other day, and I added water the other day just because it wasn't super low, but I mean I use it every day. So, and but like water for the dogs or water for the chickens, that's just rainwater. That's rain catchment water. That's what they drink. But, as a human, I'm going to make sure my water's filtered. So I've always done that. So that's just part of that whole thing. But anyway, uh again, human nature, no matter what people say, human nature, we want to survive. So my thing, again, and I've said this before, at my age, I'm more concerned about the family's ability to survive. I hear you, old mutt. No, and that makes perfect sense. Um, you know, as we get older, we have to look to the younger generation. My biggest thing, and in that same venue, um, I want my son and my daughter to survive. So if I can have things set up here and something happened and they got here, right, and they were able to get here, then I can take care of them. And it's not about me surviving long term. I'm going to fight till the last dog is hung. I'll be honest with you too. I want to be here as long as I possibly can. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be 60 this year. So, I'm on that downhill slope now, realistically. Let's say if I lived to 90, that still would mean that 2/3 of my life would be over already. So, yeah, when people get older, their ideals of survival changes. Absolutely. But my thing to me is my daughter's starting her life. I mean, she's 23 years old. So I want to make sure that, things are set up and squared away, that she can come here, get here, and she's going to be safe and protected and not have to worry about a lot of the things that a lot of people are going to have to worry about. She just has to get here. And, we have communication already in place that and I've told her, so it's like ingrained in her brain, if something happens, you pack your car and you get on the road immediately. I said, I don't care if you leave work in the middle of a shift. I said, you go. If I say it's go time, it's go time. And that's it. No questions asked. Just get here. Because again, you're talking in optimal conditions, right? For me to drive in optimal conditions, for me to get from here to New York is a little longer than 8 hours, about 8.5, depending on how many times I stop. So that is in optimal conditions. What's it going to be like to travel that distance if it's not? Um, you gave Heather a hell of a head start over most. She'll be fine. I think so. She's definitely Heather's a survivor. She's going to survive. She's going to do what she's got to do. But like I said again, she's got a good foundation. But she would still need a whole lot of guidance. And see, that's where us older folks come in, because they may not be listening to us now. A lot of this younger generation, things go sideways, they're going to be very attentive, and they're going to want to learn at that point, because then they don't, it's life or death. So that's where we come in, is that older generation that has the knowledge and has the experience. We can really guide them longer term on what they need to do, to survive, and having kids, and how do they got to go about it, and all those type of stuff. Yeah, so that's for me. Like I said, I mean, I'm going to tell you what, I've had a very interesting life. Absolutely no doubt about that. I've been very, very fortunate in my life. I've had ups and downs like anybody else, but like I said, I've always been a half full guy. The glass is half full. Try to look for the positive and the negatives. Negative things have happened. I've been fired from jobs. Not that I wanted to be. It happens, okay? But you go, okay, that sucks. You take your whatever time you need to do to get over that, and then you get back on that horse, and you keep going. You know, yeah. In severe winter weather, it will slow down absolutely, and again, so you don't know what kind of. Do you think the Army's prepared for all-out SHTF? Absolutely not, Bob. Oh my God, no, no, not in any way, shape, or form. Now, I can only go by my experience being in the military, okay? That's the only thing I can go on. And this is back in the 80s when I was in the military. It is a cluster F, okay? Um, and that's the best way I can describe it, you know. Um, in a worst case scenario, um, it, you would hope that there would be people that would do the right thing, um, and that type of thing. And but you don't know. But disorganized chaos, I think, is the best. I misread Bob's question. What did it? No, I don't. Oh, let me see. Oh, do I? Oh, I'm sorry, neighbor Bob. Yes, I did misread your question. Do I think the Army prepared me for SHDF? Um, I'm sorry, I completely read that question wrong. uh, to a degree, yes. It gave me certain skills in critical thinking, problem solving. I definitely attribute that respect. There's a lot of things that I got from the Army that I appreciate. But a lot of the stuff I did. I'm sorry, Bob, about misreading your question. Um, but a lot of the things that I've picked up is just research and learning and doing. And I've talked about that so many times, guys. The best way to learn is hands on. Get your hands dirty, get in there and do what you got to do. That's how you learn. And, that's the best way to learn. So, but also, I am not a doctor, just saying what I have done. I also suggest checking into alkaline diet for those with cancer. I'm cancer free for over 10 years now. Oh, good. Congratulations. I actually will be 10 years as of July. That will be 10 years for me, cancer free. So, real pretty happy about that. Pretty happy about that. But no, the military gives you a good foundation, uh, discipline. I know it's different now. It's completely different now than it was even when I was in. And from when I was in to when like my stepfather Larry was in, that's completely different. Like he was telling me a story, and Larry was a fighter. Larry didn't take no crap. Okay, he got into it, and he had a drill sergeant that was giving him crap, and it's like, you want to step behind the building? Larry was like, let's go, and they duked it out. So those things happened, back then. When I was in, I don't remember anybody getting beat up by drill sergeant. You got dogged out. There was no communication home other than writing letters. My MOS was 51 Romeo. I was an interior electrician, combat engineer. So, yep, was out in Lennewood in Missouri. But like I said, it's a whole different thing now. They coddle these kids way too much now. Coddle them way too much. You got to let them grow up. That's what you got to do. You got to weed out. What you got to understand is, if you don't weed out the ones that can't hack it, right? When you get into a situation, in a combat situation, and I'm very grateful that I never saw combat. I will tell you guys that right now. Very, very grateful that I never saw combat. But if you are not ready for those types of situations, those weak-minded people that you let slide through, they're going to get people killed. That's what they're going to do. They're going to get themselves killed, and they're going to get other people killed. So that's not a good thing in any. So basic training, going through that needs to be hard. It needs to be difficult, because you got to be able to get people that are going to be able to handle that situation. Ed, back in the late 60s, I experienced battlefield trauma firsthand. Yeah, I'm sure, Tony. If you were over in Nam, I am sure. So yeah, it's a different kettle of fish now than it was. Like I said, even when I was in, completely different. I mean, somebody was telling me that they're allowed to keep their phones. You know, we didn't. We didn't. Old Mutt says military living off post in South Korea in the 70s. DES was educational. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it was very educational. And like I said, and that's something you have to experience. And you know, not everybody's ready to handle that. So you got to weed out the non-hackers. You really do in any situation. People that are going to bring you down, people that are, you know, thoughts on Trump wanting the Panama Canal back. It's not necessarily a matter of wanting the Panama Canal back. It's a matter of not letting China be the one running the Panama Canal. And Trump already took care of that with Panama. And they got that squared away because, in reality, if we wanted the Panama Canal back, we would take the Panama Canal back. See, that's the problem now. And even if you go back to the Vietnam War, those guys were not allowed to win that war. They were not allowed to win that war. They were fighting with one hand tied behind their back, and it was just ridiculous. Hey, full of hope, just popped on. My daughter, in Rome, scary stuff. Yes, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I would be very concerned if your daughter was in Rome with everything going on. Thank you so much for the donation. I do appreciate that. So, but yeah, there's a lot going on, folks. A lot of stuff happening that we're not always going to be privy to. That's for sure. Like I said, again, all we can do is control what we can control. It's going to be a very difficult time. They used to get a stress card for a while too. Yeah, that's ridiculous. We didn't get no stress cards. I got dogged out a few times during basic training. And you learn, you grow, you adapt. Not a fun experience. I can tell you what, it's not a fun experience. But you screw up, there needs to be consequences for your actions, and that's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. And like I said, you got to deal with it. So anyway, guys, I am going to jump off of here for now. I hope y'all are having had a great weekend. The weekend's almost over here. We're getting ready to start the new week. Be safe. I will talk to you all later. We're up 223 on the thumbs up, so appreciate that. Thank you. And be safe, guys. Keep prepping. Take care of your business. Again, control what you can control. And the most important thing, STD, step, thing, and day. One step at a time, one thing at a time, and one day at a time. Whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to accomplish, if you set realistic goals, and then set about to making them happen. The only one stopping you from getting there is you. That's it. Okay. Be safe. I will see you all later. Prepper Nurse One out for now.